One of the most amusing Greek stories to me is the second labor of Hercules, or Heracles if you're Greek. Some may know this as the slaying of the Hydra, where Hercules is basically forced to go kill a giant snake as a way of making up for his sins. These so-called sins were in fact orchestrated by the goddess Hera, who hated Hercules as he was yet another product of her husband Zeus's infidelity. Zeus, of course, fathered many children outside of his marriage with Hera, much to her chagrin, so it is anyone's guess as to why she decided to take out her righteous anger on poor Hercules in particular. While the stories of Hercules' 12 labors are told in different ways depending on the source, they all more or less convey the same basic story. So like I said, for his second labor, he is tasked with slaying a rampaging monster known as the Lernaean Hydra. Like many monsters in Greco-Roman mythology, it was a child of Typhon and Echidna. As it turns out, the Hydra had been awoken by one very pissed-off Hera. Frustrated that Hercules had not expired during his first labor, Hera had in fact relocated the Hydra to a region known as the Argolid, where it was now wreaking havoc on a nearby town called, of course, Lerna. When it wasn't gobbling up peasants and livestock, it was poisoning the region's waterways simply by existing. I'm not actually sure why Hera decided on a giant snake, as Hercules had proven himself more than capable of dispatching snakes in the past, such as the ones that attacked him when he was just an infant. And to make it even more ironic, these very snakes had in fact been sent to kill him by none other than Hera herself. So Hercules sets off to dispatch the Hydra, taking with him a golden sword from the goddess Athena, as well as his nephew, Aeolus. They travel from Mycenae to Lerna, eventually tracking the serpent back to its lair, a cave known as the Spring of Amymone. After tying cloths around their heads to block out the Hydra's poisonous fumes, Hercules draws it away from the dark depths of the cave using flaming arrows. He quickly engages it, lopping off its heads one by one. But the Hydra has a trick up its scaly sleeve. Or, snakes don't have arms, but... Anyways, for every head Hercules removes, more grow back in its place. So Hercules briefly retreats, realizing that he must now find another way to best the Hydra. Thinking quickly, Aeolus suggests using a firebrand. So Hercules launches the attack once more, cutting the heads off as Aeolus cauterizes the severed stumps. The Hydra can no longer regenerate itself, and things are looking good for Hercules. That is, until Hera, who has been watching the struggle, notices this. Angrier than ever, the goddess begins to devise a terrible scheme. One that will see Hercules destroyed in this battle, once and for all. She is a goddess after all. She carries the power to pass divine judgment and punish others as she pleases. But what could be as frightening as a poison-expelling, nine-headed snake? What could possibly fight as an equal alongside a terrible creature known to guard one of the entrances of Hades itself? Then it comes to her. Determined to put an end to Hercules, Hera executes her backup plan. She calls to the stagnant waters of Lerna's swampland, beckoning forth a truly horrific creature from the murky waters. Not far from the skirmish, a nearby pool begins to furiously bubble and seethe. From the rancid, lightless depths, a hideous battle cry announces the arrival of... yeah. A crab. Yeah, Hera's backup plan is a crab. A fucking crab! Hercules and Aeolus continue doing battle with the Hydra, ignorant that Hera's master plan was now in full effect. The Hydra had managed to wrap its tail around Hercules' foot, but it otherwise had no major advantage. However, reinforcements were on the way. With all but one head decapitated, Hercules raised Athena's sword, preparing to bring it down upon the final head of the hapless Hydra. It was by then that Hera's secret weapon had arrived, gallantly charging into battle to fulfill Hera's wishes. It scurried towards the unrestrained foot of Hercules. If the Hydra had pinned down one, perhaps it could heroically pin down the other. With snapping claws and gnashing, maxillae, the crab furiously scuttled towards the vulnerable foot of its enemy. This was its time to make a name for itself, as the destroyer of Hercules, a feat that would earn it recognition among even the gods. The crab, now in position, opened its powerful pincers to full capacity, ready to make mincemeat out of Hera's greatest foe. And in a single, devastating motion, Hercules steps on the poor crab, crushing it to bits. It had been a complete accident, as Hercules, nor Iolaus, for that matter, had ever noticed the crab. They were rather busy dealing with a bloodthirsty, multi-headed child of Echidna, after all. Hercules, of course, went on to win this duel, decapitating the last immortal head of the Hydra, and burying it beneath a rock, for good measure, I guess. Hera was, of course, completely dumbfounded. While her flawless plan had somehow failed to bear fruit, she chose to immortalize not only the Hydra, but also the crab that had come to its aid on her behalf. She flung them into the night sky, where they became constellations, the afterthoughts of a brutal contest. This is actually where the zodiac sign Cancer the crab comes from, so for all of you who were born between June 22nd and July 22nd, be thankful that you have the esteemed privilege of being associated with this brave crustacean. It dared to take on the likes of Hercules, and though it wasn't successful, I think it's great that we can all have a good laugh about one of mythology's most underrated figures. Amimone? Amimone?
Amimone.
Okay. A cave known as the Spring of...
Amimone.